Hi everybody! In today's lesson, you will explore what is inside of a seed and learn all about what each seed contains and how it can grow into a healthy, thriving vegetable. Our learning objectives for today will be to understand that seeds have parts inside of them that turn into different plant parts. We'll learn about why seeds need water to start the process of germination, and how plants move through their life cycle from a seed to a full-grown plant, then to flowers that produce more seeds. Let's jump into some vocab. Remember, as I go through these words, you should be writing them down in your garden journal so you can remember them for later. Our first word is soaked, and soaked is a fancy word for wet. Our second word is swelled. And if something swelled, that means it became larger. Another way we say it is to say something is swollen. And sometimes when you soak things in water, they become swollen and they grow as they fill up with water. Our next word is seed coat. And it means exactly what it sounds like. Just like you put on a coat to protect you, a seed has a coat around it that covers it up and protects it. And we call that coat a seed coat. Why don't you take a moment to draw a seed with a seed coat around it to help you remember this word? Okay, so what makes up a seed? The biggest part of the seed is the endosperm, and there's two halves of the seed that are called the endosperm, and they are food for the seed as it is coming back to life. In this diagram, you can see what the inside of a seed looks like. And that big yellow part is all the endosperm. And it's full of nutrients for when the plant is starting to grow and it doesn't have its roots yet to grab nutrients from the soil. When the seed is just starting to turn into the plant and the plant is super duper young, we call that an embryo. And an embryo is the early growth stage of a plant or an animal. And what do you think the plant embryo would look like if we dissected it? And by dissected, I mean take it apart to look at all the little parts inside of it. That's right, it would look like this. And this is called a diagram, which is a detailed drawing of something so we can see all the parts written out for us. Our last word is germinate. Let's try and say it together. Germinate. To germinate means for a seed to begin to grow or sprout. So all plants at one point were a seed that germinated. So you might remember that at one point I said that a seed contains all the parts of a plant already inside it. Let's take some time to try and locate where all those parts are inside of our seed. These diagrams that I'm showing you right now are really complex, so you don't need to write down every single part, but I'm just going to point out to you what's really cool, and that's that every part of the plant that we know about is inside the seed already. The first part of the plant that we can find inside the seed is the epicotyl, and that becomes the leaves of our plants. We can also find what is going to become the root, and when it's still inside the seed, we call it the radicle. We can also find what is going to turn into the stem of the plant. When it's inside the seed, it's called the plumule. I just said a lot of extra words that you don't need to memorize. But what you do need to remember is that all the parts of the plant are inside the seed just waiting to germinate. The last thing we're going to talk about is the life cycle of a plant. Plants start as seeds, and when those seeds get water and good conditions, they can germinate or begin to grow. Then they turn into a tiny plant called a seedling. Eventually, it grows up to a whole full-grown plant with stems and leaves and flowers. Those flowers can produce more seeds. After we've learned a whole lot about seeds, it's time for you to spend some time with your garden teacher and see what's been happening in your garden. Hi everyone! In today's seed lesson, we're going to take a little walk around the garden and see if we can collect some seeds. And we're going to take a closer look at some seeds and dissect a seed to find all the different seed parts. The first seed that I found here is from some fennel or anise. And I'm going to pull it off the plant, and look, those just fall right off, and I can use these either as a spice, they're actually delicious and flavorful, or I can save them to plant next year. Let's see what else we can find. I see some pomegranate seeds. Looks like this pomegranate got attacked by some birds and they were munching on these pomegranate seeds. Let's take a closer look. These are surrounded in a yummy, fleshy fruit. If you've eaten pomegranate, you know they're tart and sweet. And on the inside, there's a little seed in each one of these. Here I see our snap pea plants are producing lots of flowers. And remember, flowers come and then they get pollinated and turn into fruit. I see a little pea starting here, and on the inside of that, there will be seeds. So we'll have to come back and check later for some seeds in there. Here we are in our pollinator area, and this area is full of seeds. So there's lots and lots of calendula seeds. So these flowers already turned into seeds. And these seeds are really cool. They're shaped almost like a little caterpillar. That's always what they remind me of. I'll spread those out so more flowers can come back. Look, our milkweed is making seeds. And these seeds are super unique because they have what I call sails on them. They have these little fibers that are like cotton that help them float in the wind. You can see them flying away. And that helps the seed travel and plant somewhere new. Okay, now that we've taken a look at some seeds around the garden, I want to take a closer look at some seeds that I had here in the garden shed or at home. So the first seeds we're going to look at are chia seeds. And these are teeny tiny grayish blackish seeds. And these are seeds that we can eat, and they are a good source of fiber and protein and omega-3s. They're super delicious. And one awesome thing about chia seeds is you can make puddings out of them, because when you get them wet, like here, they turn into this thick gel. And that gel is actually a way that the seeds hold on to water. So they almost create a little bubble of water around them in this gel, and they could hold 9 times of their size in water around them so that they germinate well. Our next seed is broccoli seed. And you might not imagine that a big head of broccoli can come from these tiny little seeds, but that is the truth. And broccoli seeds, obviously we can grow broccoli from, but you can also sprout them and eat the tiny little germinated plant. So these seeds are actually broccoli seeds for sprouting that I sometimes sprout and eat the little micro broccolis from. Moving on to our lentils. Lentils you can eat just like beans. They are a seed that is edible. They're super yummy and full of protein, and they're a little bit of a bigger seed. And these actually come in different colors. There's green lentils, red lentils. These are yellow lentils. And I have some lentils soaked here, and we're going to dissect one of those in a minute. Okay, I wonder if this seed might look familiar to you all. What do you think? Have you seen that before? Maybe when you were carving pumpkins around Halloween time? These are pumpkin seeds. These are a bigger seed. You can also eat these seeds. You might have had roasted pumpkin seeds. They're really yummy and nutritious. What about this fluffy one? You remember that? That's our milkweed seed. Remember, it has those sails, this fluffy part, so it can fly away and travel and disperse and spread seed all over for new milkweed plants. Let's look at these snap peas. I'm going to open one up for you so you can see the seed inside there. Let's see. Oh, there they are. The peas are the seeds. And if you were going to plant these, you would let the pea totally dry out, and these would be a little bit lighter in color, not so fresh. They would be dried out first before you plant them. But when they're like this, they're super yummy to eat. Okay, so let's take that closer look at some of those soaked lentils. So which ones do you think were soaked? I think it's pretty clear that the ones over here are much bigger. They are swollen, they swelled up with all the water, and these are still tiny and dry. So these are our soaked ones, and we're going to try and identify some of the different parts of the seed here. So really easily, if I just grab it, see what just came off? The seed coat just slipped right off. Remember, that seed coat is just like a jacket that we wear. It's that outer coating that keeps it safe. Okay, now that I took the coat off of these, you can start to see the different seed parts. Notice there's the main part of the seed, and then over here, it's like it has a little tail. Do you see that? Let's split this seed in half to get a better look. Wow, okay, we can see a lot clearer those seed parts now that I've split it in half. You can see the two halves of the seed there. And remember, this whole seed is the embryo. It is the baby plant. And the two halves are the food for that young baby plant. And that little tail there, this part here, see that little tiny thing? That is what becomes the different plant parts. So that part that is sticking out, those are going to become the leaves. And the part that's sticking towards the middle of the seed, that is going to become the root. And I know in the lesson we saw a lot of fancy words for the different names of the seed parts, but what I think is important here is to notice what looks like it's going to become the leaves, what looks like it's going to become the root, and we know that the main part of the seed, that is all going to be food for that little baby plant as it starts to germinate. And that's pretty wonderful to see that this little seed contains all the parts to make a big, beautiful plant. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed looking a little bit closer at the science of seeds, and I will see you next time back in the Virginia Peterson garden for another lesson.